things we've talked about on numerous shows is we've talked pricing and different things with that. So we're going to get into that in tonight's show. For a lot of you, you probably have heard us do these discussions. If you are new to this discussion of where we're going to go tonight, this will be a good, fun show because Brian and I come at it from two really different perspectives when it comes to pricing our services. So we're going to cover how we look at adding things to our business, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we charge for these things and what we're going to do. So Brian, let's get it kicked off a little bit. When you are looking at maybe adding something to your wedding business, whether it's adding a photo booth or adding maybe additional lighting or something to that effect to your company, what kind of things are you weighing out before you decide to really pull the trigger to add them?
Well, there are several factors. One is anybody asking for this? And the second thing is, if they are, what can I get that has the best ease of use and the less steep learning curve?
Sure.
I don't want something I have to, learn how to, learn a new Greek language to figure out. I'd like something that's intuitive. And I also, well, for my situation, with I look at things that I can physically manage too, and that fit in my vehicle. And those are the kind of things that I look at. Price is something that I'll consider last because, it has to be functional first. It has to be something people want first. It has to be something that I feel like, I can easily step into, and it's not going to distract me too much from what I'm really at the event to do, which is to, in my case, program some music and make that happen.
Be entertained, yeah.
So, right, yeah.
And that's something as I've added things over the years, and I was thinking about this earlier, is that when I was deciding, okay, should I add this to the company or this to the company, one of the things I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about was ease of use. And you can make something overly complicated really, really quick. This new, that when we first went to the photo booth expo or photo booth events, that we were seeing these huge photo booths that were this big swoopy things and inside and all this. And it's like, oh, that's so awesome, man.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff.
As you say, the simplicity of use and transportation
and setup too. I'll put that in there too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's just so many variables on that a person starts to kind of, and you mentioned early that you basically are if people are asking for services and such, is that something that's been kind of a driving thing when you start to get those calls, or are there times where you're like, okay, I think this might work, and then you start, maybe talking to people about it and kind of presenting it to your customers?
It's one of those things where most of the time when I'm talking to a potential client, with very few exceptions, do I need to sell much of anything? And they're not really interested in the equipment. They're usually interested in, can you make this event flow right? And, what's my dance floor going to look like? Those are the kind of things that they seem more concerned with than, well, do you have this effect that does this or that? It happens once in a while. People want gobos, or they'll want special lighting, or they'll want, some kind of, other effects or look. But most of the time, that's very secondary to them. I think they just kind of assume, well, you're a DJ, this is what you do. Of course you have sound and lighting. And I'll try to tell them about it. Hey, my stuff looks like this. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Can we make this happen or not? It's like something they're not really that concerned with. So I don't like to put a lot of focus or emphasis on, bang zoom fireworks. I mean, I have cool stuff, don't get me wrong, because I feel like I have pretty good taste with this. Maybe I don't. That's my opinion. Maybe some people think that my stuff looks like, a pile of junk in the corner, but I think it looks nice, and I think it sets up easy. And I guess I don't do a lot of upsell when it comes to that kind of stuff. It doesn't happen much. I don't want people to, I guess, put money somewhere where it's not needed.
And that's certainly a big thing.
That's my moral compass too,
Well, I think right now that's one of the things we're seeing a lot with as people are coming through this with this COVID situation and how the world is modifying itself. Is that the where people are investing their money and what they're getting the best bang for the buck type of
Right.
situation. I think we're hearing that from people, and I've had experiences where people are cutting some things out and moving to doing a different thing the day of because they want to add this or not do that, what have you. So it
Streamline.
definitely is. There's a lot more streamlining than there has been in the past. So that's just
Yeah.
a changing environment. So
And really, if you think about it, it's good for them because they're saving money. It's good for us too because we can get in and out faster. We don't have to worry about all this extra stuff.
yeah,
It's kind of like just getting down to the meat and potatoes of things.
and some venues
Because,
absolutely love
yeah.
that because they want us in and out as quickly as possible. So
Right. Yeah. Yes. Setup time is crucial, and breakdown time is crucial.
and we heard that at the Photo Booth Expo when people were going around and looking at the different booths. The number of times they're looking at, as an example from PhotoMaster, they're looking at this big mirror that's 7 feet tall or something, and it's like, oh, that looks cool. But I heard people talking about it, and they're like, I like it, but the setup is going to kill me. I won't have the time to set it up, or I don't have the ability to transport something that big, what have you. So,
Or I have to bring on additional staff to assist me
yeah, and precisely.
to get it in and out of the building, which affects your bottom line too.
Yeah. So there's a variety of different scenarios, and I guess that was really the point of this first part, gang, is that there isn't this is how you do it when it comes to deciding about adding things to your business or not adding things to your business. There's going to be different situations, or Brian mentioned a few in his world of how that is. For some people, they will see something, they want to be on the cutting edge of whatever that technology is, and they will basically start offering it and start selling it and then buy it. I mean, there's just a lot of different things. It's really going to depend on your comfort level, because if you would have bought something or committed to buying something in January and in March the world stops spinning, you're sitting there with a $5,000 January purchase that's not making you any money today.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of variables, and it's something to make the best decision for you and your business.
A quick little hack on this.
Yeah.
And I've done it in the past with things, and just little things, sometimes bigger things. But instead of going out and buying something and then trying to sell it, I found that it's almost easier to sell it. And if there's interest in it and someone buys it, then go out and make the purchase.
Sure.
I've done that with things before. I mean, why would I buy something hoping somebody else may want, that? Whereas I could, I guess, solicit it and see if anybody bites. And if people do, and how far out are you booking events?
Yeah.
It's at least a couple months. Even like that's kind of my experience here in Milwaukee. People book late. There are places in the country or the world where people book a year out or something. That's not my experience here. It's a relatively late thing most of the time. So, yeah, I mean, if I can get a few people to commit to, say, a photo booth, for instance, before I even buy a photo booth, yeah, okay, I've got 3 people in the books. They're paying for this photo booth. Now I can buy it, and now I know that it's already generating income for me. So that's just a trick that you can do with anything, be it a Go projector or a dancing on a cloud. A perfect example, really.
Yeah.
Why buy a machine that does dancing on the cloud until you have somebody who wants it?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to tell you 2 days out. They're going to tell you 2 months out. So you can make the purchase, know you've already got some, money to be made with it or to help pay it off or whatever. And there you
go. Digital media, Muraro, would be how it's pronounced. Do you think uplighting and wash lighting is a good investment?
Asking me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's no. Okay, here's how I reason that out, and I hope we're not going off topic here, but when you think about lighting effects, you typically have aerial effects, projection effects, and wash effects.
Mm-hmm.
So in most of the world right now, aerial effects, which are things like moving heads and lasers that require atmosphere to be seen, like moving heads and such, are really cool, and I like them a lot. But we can't use atmosphere at our venues.
Right.
So we're stuck with projection effects, which are things like gobos, and maybe even a jewel light that puts a cool pattern on the ceiling or something, like the old Revo 3 or something,
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
projection effect. More so of a projection effect than, excuse me, an aerial effect. And then when you think about even like park hands, they can be either projection for an uplight, or they can be a wash effect, which is, you know, kind of when you kind of turn everybody blue on the dance floor, or
yeah.
green, or whatever color you light them up. Yeah, pars and uplighting, I think, are the best investment you can make
And this
when it
is
comes to
something that
lighting.
we see photo booth operators, photo booth companies. I mean, this is what they do primarily. They're adding uplighting services. That at Photo Booth Expo, the JMOS, the team from JMOS, there was a photo booth operators were just in awe of those little battery powered uplights that they had.
Yeah, they were hot.
They were
Yeah.
very, very, very hot in there. It was a really good, you know, the decor lighting world is what it is. So I would agree. Is that if I were looking at a thing to add to my photo booth company or my DJ business, and I did not already have uplighting, that would probably be one of the first ones that I would do.
Yeah.
More so if I'm a DJ, more so than maybe the photo booth right now, because that while it's a good business, there's some of the people are not going to the photo booth, or they're going to a person who does photo booth as a primary business and has a
Right.
more elaborate system. My little popsicle, you know, or little sucker looking photo booth may not be the thing they want, because they're looking for that experience and they want something that's a little more elaborate than what I would be bringing in. So
Sure.
it's right now, I would probably put that lighting as the first upsell for either industry.
I think the thing that you can also do with things like par fixtures, you don't need a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you don't. I know people who go out and, well, I bought, you know, 32 element hex pars, and it's like, okay, why did you do that? And, well, you know, I need to get lighting all over the room. What's crazy is what a lot of folks do will sell, okay, I've got 32 lights, I'm going to light up your whole room, it's going to look amazing. And some people may really like that.
Yep.
But I think it's, if you think smart, you can say to the client, well, so how many lights do you bring? Well, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight points of interest, beautiful and beautiful things,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that you want to draw attention to. I'm going to light those things. If there's nothing going on in that corner, I'm not going to light it. So I'm going to light your cake. I'm going to light your head table. I'm going to light this beautiful column and this cool picture on the wall that, you know, could use some attention. This is beautiful architectural detail. We should highlight. That's why you picked the hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's highlight those things and the important things and draw attention to them with lighting, opposed to just arbitrarily putting 32 lights evenly around a room. And people appreciate that. And so they're not focused on how many fixtures, they're focused on you as a lighting designer making it right. And you're charging the same amount of money than you would, you know, per fixture uplighting, I think.
Yeah, and you're
I think it's working smarter, not hard, you know,
more smarter.
not harder.
Great way to do that. Smarter, working smarter, not harder. Let's talk a little bit about how we come to our pricing when it comes to our services.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brian and I have a little bit different take on this. I'm a numbers person. I'm a huge numbers person. In the description of the video, you guys are going to see 3 links. This was a three-part series that I did on pricing your services. I went through the numbers, figuring out expenses and different things. It was done in the DJ industry, but just take out the word DJ and put photo booth. It's talking about figuring the gear and your insurances, all of those little expenses, and how you come up with a number for charging your services.
You can take out the DJ thing and put in lawn care. It's all the same.
It's all the same. It's just, it's really, but it's numbers heavy. If you don't like numbers, don't go there.
Yeah, right.
There's three of them there, and you guys can check that out. Brian, when we've had this discussion before. Let's talk pricing. How do you arrive at your pricing when it comes to your services?
Well, I think the thing that I really should talk about is how I present, how I present the concept of coming out with pricing to others, because they're different. So what I tell people is, you know, I don't care what you charge, as long as you're not losing money when you go out there to work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pay to work. Whatever you charge is up to you, but I feel like that, it's ridiculous if you're actually spending more money to gig than you would take in. There's no profit at all to be had at the end of the day. So what I tell people to do is just kind of figure out the dollar amount of the equipment that you have and retail replacement costs, not what I bought it from my cousin Joe for cheap because he didn't want it anymore. Now, what would it cost to replace it today? Full retail value.
Mm-hmm.
Figure all that stuff up and just know that number, and then figure out how many expenses out of pocket that you have going to your event. Gasoline. I guess maybe even a clothing allowance, anything that you might need to get for that event. Then figure out, what it's costing you to run your business, internet, phone, whatever you might have, insurance, your music services, all of those things, and then do the math and figure out what it costs you per event to actually go out there and do what you do. And once you figure that out, then know that's your break-even number. Anything you charge above and beyond that is up to you, and that's your profit. But at least hit that break-even number.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ask anyone to do. Now, what do? I put profit in it. Of course I do,
Sure.
and I know my value, or I feel like I know my value as a DJ, because I'm one of those weird guys. I'm not really a gearhead. I'm not a mixing guy. I'm not a businessman. I love music. That's what I do, is I can program music really well. So that's really what I love about this, and that's where I feel like my value lies. But everything else is expenses. So that's how I do it. That's how I encourage other people to start thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
At least start thinking about it. And that's why I present it in that fashion.
So now when you're talking to someone calls and you're talking pricing to them, how do you convey the price to a client if they're like, oh, they're starting to, maybe not waffle, but, they're starting to kind of, what's that all include, or how does that work? Your pricing?
Right. Well, what I will do just briefly, if they do bulk on it at all, I will say, okay, just understand that my break-even price on this is this amount. Just understand that. And they're like, and that doesn't include any of my time or performance or anything else. I'm like, well, that's not very much. It's like, no, it's not. But this is what it costs me to come to your event. And ultimately it does.
Mm-hmm.
And then, whatever I've got on top of that, is not an astronomical, unreasonable number. I think most people, anymore, even young people out there getting their start in the world, understand economics. And once you put it to them in that fashion, usually pretty cool about it. Like, they get it. And I have a lot of people too who will say, look, we're not looking for that budget DJ, because we know that budget DJ. We're looking for somebody who can handle this, so we're not expecting it for free. I get that a lot too, which is nice, but I know everybody doesn't experience that. I hope I answered your question.
No, that's getting us where I wanted to go. So when you're pricing and thinking about pricing of your services that you have out there, upsells, like we kind of talked a little bit about the uplighting and such. How are you incorporating upsells when somebody says, okay, Brian, you're DJ for this, but I want you to add X, Y, and Z. How would you price that, especially maybe if it's something like we talked about earlier that you don't own yet, but you've been kind of wanting to add it to your company? How do you come up with a number?
I've got a couple of upsells, and they're maybe a little unusual. So one is ceremony and ceremony directing. This is a new thing that I started last year, and until the apocalypse, it was going pretty well, where instead of just charging them, I don't know, whatever it was, $400 to do a remote ceremony with like a Maui 5 Go, I'm charging substantially more to actually show up at rehearsal and direct the ceremony.
Sure.
Because the trend has been, and I don't know if the rest of you have experienced this or not, but they're not bringing in, Pastor Joseph to do the ceremony anymore. They're bringing in cousin Dave, who got
Yes.
ordained online. He has no idea what he's doing. Yet they want something that resembles a choreographed fairy tale wedding, but Uncle Dave has no idea how to tell them how to do it, or Uncle Joe, or whoever. So what I'll do is I'll go in and help them out with that. And I'll bring a speaker and I'll go on the microphone so I can kind of direct things, and people appreciate it. It's extra time. It's like another gig.
Yeah.
And you go in the night before, whenever the rehearsal is. Usually it's the night before, and you get to know everybody. They trust you. They're looking to you. If anything goes wrong, you're anticipating anything that could go wrong, like the flower girl melts down. What do you do? Mom's up front ready with her camera to take the cute picture, but there's nobody to get her out of the way so dad can walk his daughter down the aisle. Those are the kind of things that I'm helping them with, like what ifs, who's in charge? What if this happens? What if that happens? We got protocols for everything. And I'll set it all up. And then they always say the same thing. Well, what if something happens? What if this happens? Like, we went through this. I'm DJing. I can't help you. I have a job to do just like you have a job to do. That's why we're at rehearsal. That's why you're sober and you're not drinking yet. We're going to drink afterward. Okay? Because I need you to understand this so we don't have any problems. That's my upsell. And the reason it's an upsell is because it's something people actually need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to sell them, an all-you-can-eat shrimp bar or a chocolate fountain or something that they probably don't need, or something, and if you do this stuff, I'm not hating on you. I'm just saying that I feel like that my upsells are practical and helpful instead of just, I don't know, formats.
And in your market, that's
or rust proofing or whatever,
But they're in the market you're working in. If you don't have a lot of wedding coordinators, this is a service that is needed.
Even if you have a wedding coordinator, sometimes they miss things, and that's something else too. I mean, I have been to weddings I've been to wedding rehearsals where there's an officiant there who claims to have, years of experience, which is probably 7 years, and that's really cute. But they make mistakes.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And they miss things. I did a wedding one time where I was at the rehearsal. Everything went great. And the officiant said what she was supposed to say and all that. The only thing she didn't do is tell everyone to be seated after everybody was at the altar and she started her spiel.
Yep.
So we've got the whole audience standing.
Yes.
And the photographer comes to me and says, I can't get any pictures. People won't sit down.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Sit.
Get on the microphone and tell them, I can't interrupt the ceremony, but here's what you do. You're going to kind of military crouch down and go down and just kind of do this, and everybody will sit down and you'll get your pictures. It's something that the officiant missed. You can say, oh, how unprofessional, but you know what? Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's just nice for somebody to have your back. And that's the service that I try to provide for people, is to be that person they can go to, and I can help them solve some problems.
Mm-hmm.
And with as few disruptions as possible. So that's kind of what I look at. I again, not the chocolate fountain, not the shrimp bar, the candy station. None of those things are bad things, but I'm looking at practical stuff.
And in this particular,
I'm trying to upsell.
In this particular case, now you're talking about a very personal service, but it's basically time and labor. There's not a lot of, not a ton of gear. How do you price something like that when it comes to something, again, that doesn't have the gear involved with it?
You price it like an event because it's time. I mean, if I'm committed to somebody's rehearsal on a Friday, I can't do somebody else's wedding on a Friday. So I got to price that as a gig.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. But they understand that. It's like, look, I can do it. And that's how I approach it too. It's like, I can do your ceremony. I can do your music and all that. To do your rehearsal, that's different, but I'll direct it and make sure it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I got to price it out as another gig because I'm losing time. If I have to be at your rehearsal at 5:30, I can't be at somebody else's wedding at 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to work. So they get it.
Yeah.
And they appreciate it. And it's really nice to be appreciated. And the other really cool thing about that particular service, and I don't want to harp on it too much, is that if you do that, everybody knows your name and everybody trusts you, and you get less crap from the wedding party after a few cocktails the day of.
Yes.
Because you're their friend. This is Brian. He's got our back. We can't be a jerk to Brian. We can't. He knows our name. We know his name. He's our friend. He helped us out. He made us look really good and walked us through this. So he's our dude and we trust him. And it just seems to go much easier. Like less brides are named Karen, because of this.
There is a pop culture reference.
Less bridesmaids are named Karen. Let's say that, or less groomsmen are named Karen. So
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. There's less Karens involved in the wedding party.
Oh, that there are. Once again, for those of you who are watching, in the description below are 3 videos that go through a very in-depth look at numbers, taking them apart, kind of figuring out what your numbers are as you go along and kind of fill things in, and help to put together how much you should be charging for your services, no matter what kind of business you're running. You can plug in your numbers and kind of put things together and get it going. So we talked about pricing. We talked about what to offer. I think we've covered our bases, Brian.
Should we? Yeah, and it's early. Should we go to the comment section?
We can certainly do that. We'll wrap up. We'll wrap the one video up for those of you who are in the photo booth world. Again, the numbers will work. Those links will be down in the description of the video below. If you happen to be out on Facebook and you don't see the links in the description below, that might happen on the Facebook feeds. This information's out at, you can go out, search PBNTV out on YouTube, and this video will be there also, and it will have all the links. And again, PBNTV, Photo Booth News TV. Find that Wednesday night, and you'll be able to go and hit those links and check out that and enter your numbers and have some fun with it.
Now, whether you have a photo booth or a DJ service or whatever you do, I just want to make something clear. I'm not here to tell you how to do things. All I'm encouraging you to do is not go out there and spend more money than you're taking in. Don't pay to work. Don't do that. Yeah. There was a meme floating around Facebook last week. I don't know if you saw it or not. And it was saying how DJs and bands and other entertainers, since COVID-19 have lost $57 in revenue, but they've saved $30,000 in gas. So, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder how many people during quarantine who have that day job and do this as like a side gig or say to themselves, for some reason, I have more money than I used to. I wonder why.
Yeah, what's going on here?
What's going on with this? Maybe, it's this knee-jerk reaction that I think a lot of people have who are in this business is they want a gig no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody comes at them and says, well, I can't afford your asking price of something that makes sense financially for you, but I can do it for much less than it costs you to come and do my event. They'll take it anyway because it's an event, because they think they've won. They think they've made money, but they've actually spent money. They just saved money by not doing it at all. They'd have actually come out ahead by doing it that way, opposed to doing it and losing money. So, yeah, just think about that. I don't care what you charge. I would just love to see everybody not put themselves in a position where they're losing money. That's all.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that happens a lot. Shawnee D, I don't know if I had a spreadsheet on that. I know one time I did. I'm not exactly sure. We may have to go back to when you click to those videos, there might be a link to an Excel file.
By the way, our methods aren't really that much different.
Yeah, no. Brian used to have a much different method back when what he used to do is he took a couple of die and then he had some sticks, roll those things across there.
Yep. See what happens.
See what happens.